Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. It is Wednesday morning, January 20th, 2021. A lot to talk about today. Pretty good price action after the market kind of settled in after the gap yesterday. Hopefully you were prepared. And this is a big thing to discuss, that there's a big difference between trading the current price action of what's happening today or even the last couple of days versus what we call order flow, which is the obvious money, the obvious deep pockets pushing a stock around, whether that's to the upside or to the downside. First and foremost, we're trading the order flow. Then we're reading the tape to determine if it's the right time to start looking for an entry. Only then do we start drilling down a little bit lower into those time frames to start to say, okay, here's where I'm going to look to consider buying or selling. And that's a challenge for a lot of traders. A lot of traders put too much emphasis, and this is especially true for newer members of the boot camp who come in and they're just focused on what happened on that alert pre-market or what the stock is doing right now or how the stock just did yesterday. We're not trading just yesterday. Unless you're a hyperactive shorter term trader, which I'm not. I'm usually looking for those really super relaxing trades that last for about a week or 2 weeks. And then I look for another one along those lines. Remember, we're looking for easier opportunities by identifying where the smart money already has a position, already is building a position, and then we just hop on board. We just piggyback what they're doing. So when we script out our game plans every day in our meeting at 8:30, we're really just looking for opportunities in something that already has smart money activity. So I can't stress that enough. If you're finding your timing is off a little bit, it means one of two things. Where if you're finding ideas you think are obvious, okay, so maybe you're on the right side of the trade, but maybe you need to drill down a little bit deeper to determine what order flow actually is. Then go to that second step into reading the tape to determine, is it the right time to be entering a new trade? Which, by the way, if you'd like to get my exact entries, my stop loss, and my profit target every single trade sent directly to your phone, there's an app that we actually have where I give you everything. You don't even have to leave your desk. If you want, you can log in on your computer. But while you're learning how to do this, this is probably the simplest and the easiest way to do it, is to just get my trades. Just log in, pull up the app, and I will give you the price I'm getting in. I will give you the stop loss, what I'm considering, and I'll give you the profit target and the reasons for the profit target. And if we're adding to the position or if we feel it's kind of like a cash flow type of trade. In my opinion, and everything that I've learned, following somebody who's having success is an easier, you might call it a shortcut to accelerating your own learning curve, because now you're asking questions while the trades are unfolding. We get a lot of people on social media, especially, asking for all of that. I won't do that on social media because that's kind of behind the curtain for members of our boot camp. But if you want to find out about doing that, I strongly recommend clicking the link below the video and learn what's in the boot camp. You not only get all of that, but you also get the entire course. You get this tape reading mastery as well as boot camp mastery, which teaches you about order flow. So if you're struggling, and the reason I'm bringing it up is we had our weekly coaching call last night of some newer members that just came in, and they're voicing their biggest frustration right now, which is think I'm looking at the right stocks, but I'm not making money. And that usually means that maybe you're not looking at the right stocks. For example, we had a few people bottom fishing because they thought it might reverse. That's the opposite of what we do. We want something that the smart money is already involved in. And again, just keep thinking about that word. We're just looking for a spot to piggyback for the next move. And then the second part is whether or not you're too late. It's one thing to pick a side, but then being involved and accepting risk. Remember, there's the risk versus the reward. Is there enough meat on the bone in that deal? Is there enough profit on that deal to justify taking the trade based on what the stock normally does? And this, putting these pieces together is really what separates you from a chart reader to somebody who's actually getting paid. Again, if you want to follow me, click down and learn about that link. Again, no pressure. Just you owe it to yourself if you're not where you want to be right now to at least find out what we do. So getting back to the market today, we're starting to see a little bit of what we might call distribution days, not full out distribution, but we're starting to see, and taking out what happened at the Capitol on January 6th, we're starting to see a little bit heavier volume on the days that the market's going down. We haven't seen that in a while. I'm not calling it top. I'm not saying we're reversing. It's something to pay attention to. And actually, somebody in our coaching call last night brought that up, Nasir, about paying attention to volume from day to day. And it's a good practice, especially in the indices like the SPY, the Qs, the diamonds, the Russell 2000, the IWM, or whatever stocks you happen to be trading. For me, it's predominantly I'm watching the SPY and the Qs during the day. So there's a little bit of a crack in the armor. So now it's going to be interesting to see if the weekly stocks continue, the weekly charts continue to remain well bid, or do we kind of start to see the tape changing and we go back and forth a little bit, which will translate into we start to trade a little bit more for cash flow as opposed to building those positions. And then we really have to work the watch list. So we're going to take a look at Baba today. We're going to look at GM. We're going to take a look at Netflix, of course. So let's head on over to the charts. If you find these videos helpful, definitely click down and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. So starting out with the market and specifically the SPY, we all know what happened over here on when the market really got clobbered. So what I want to talk about though is over here, this day here last Friday. Now, what's important about what happened here is this. Now, it's great that the market gapped up yesterday. Janet Yellen had some comments that is widely attributing why the market gapped yesterday, but this is significant. A gap down, closing below the open on probably 40 to 50% more volume than what the SPY normally does. That's something to pay attention to. Not in and of itself. It's kind of like a mental alert. We're saying, okay, something changed. We need to keep an eye on that. If we get one more or two more over the next week or so, then it's something to really note that we might be changing. Again, this is what professional traders do. If this happens, then I'm going to do this. If this happens, then I'm going to do this. It's a really big part of what we do as traders. So now drilling a little bit deeper into some ideas today. Well, actually earnings that are scheduled for today. United Airlines, Procter & Gamble, just to give you a running list of what to pay attention to today. Alcoa, United Health, some of the bigger ones that we'll be watching today, Morgan Stanley and Discover. Those will be the primary ones that we'll be keeping an eye on in the boot camp today. But getting to Baba, I think it's pretty interesting that a lot of people are attributing this morning's 7% rally on the fact that Jack Ma did an interview. He disappeared for a while, right? And here's basically a billionaire Jack Ma who basically said they couldn't find him for like a month or so. That's great as a headline after the fact, but me as a trader, I'm looking at this. While the stock was going down, we had a significant increase in volume. And look at this one day here. This is the start of what we're talking about on the opposite side that we noticed in the SPY, where it happens on one day where you get massive push, but then you don't get follow through. Look what happened after this, and look at the volume here over the last 6 weeks, over the last 2 weeks, compared to what the volume was prior to that on the way down. This is accumulation. So the fact that we had a bullish gap here, and then yesterday the news came out and they're attributing that for today's rally. Sure, it might be the catalyst after the fact to sell the news, but now we're looking for follow through. So it's pretty interesting that it broke the longer term downtrend, but prior to breaking the downtrend, we spotted accumulation, which caused this reversal before the news came out. So we're going to keep an eye on it. We're definitely going to look to actively trade it. But I wanted to point out the difference between reading the news after the fact and being ahead of the news, because you know what you're looking at. Next, we're talking about Netflix. If you didn't happen to catch Netflix earnings yesterday afternoon, we highlighted it in yesterday's video. It is trading $67 higher, blasted through the level that we said that we're going to start paying attention to. And now it's back into our watch list as long as it stays outside of this window. We'll let it settle in a little bit in the morning, and then we'll look to initiate a new swing trade. But I think the single biggest thing, obviously they blew away subscriber numbers, but this, as an entrepreneur, is a really big deal. As somebody who understands what it means to run a business, which I've been an entrepreneur for the better part of 36 years now, when your business is generating cash flow that pays for your expansion, very, very different than relying on banks to go out and hope you can finance it and make more than the financing costs. And that's really, really interesting. General Motors is one that we called out last week. This is really going to be in our watch list again. I actually made a comment yesterday in the boot camp that this stock hasn't been in my watch list in 14 years. That's how long that they've been relevant and really active to the point where it could be something you trade on, at least watch on a regular basis. We're starting to see really good, significant pushes. Now it's just a question of we're waiting for a pause to initiate a new swing trade, but a $50 stock with good volume, better increasing volatility. This is going to be something that we're going to be looking to actively trade. We've been mentioning it for a couple of weeks now. Hopefully you've been participating in the semiconductor stocks. There's been a long list of them. Taiwan Semiconductor has been at the top of that list, and AMD, has been a much better trade. And what I mean by that is taking a look at how it traded intraday yesterday. It was just as clean as it could possibly have gotten, as well as Micron, both of them recovering after the market kind of got beat up a little bit. Micron, you could see, was just a really good opportunity that we took advantage of yesterday as well. So the point that I want to make about this, whether you got them or didn't get them, you as a trader, somebody asked me in the comment section recently if order flow is something that is a long-term strategy. Is the winning stock picks that we're making just because the market is at all-time highs, or is it because of the methodology? I'm telling you straight up, it's because of the methodology. This is not something that was created on a napkin. This is something that is born out of hundreds of millions of shares traded to find the winning industry groups, find the right sectors, those industry groups in there, and being in the right stocks when they are leading the market. So if you follow the channel over the last few months, we started out with a different sectors over the summer. Then we switched to other stuff during September. And then October, we found better stocks. November and December, we found different stocks. And now starting out the new year, a different list of stocks. If you understand sector rotation and following the order flow within sector rotation, you'll be in the right trades. The last thing you need to do is actually learn how to trade. And again, like I said, follow me. It's easier to do it that way. Last one I want to take a look at today is LMND. It rocketed last week. We had some really good, clean, bullish order flow for a couple of days. Now, pulled back on heavier volume. That's not exactly what we want to see. I am looking for a new swing trade entry today to at least retest the 180 level. Now, because of the heavier volume on the push down, I'm not looking to go in full of share size. If it pulled back, meandered to the downside, and the volume was lighter than these days to the upside, I'd be like, all right, that's awesome, but this is pretty significant profit taking. So I'm going to kind of what you might call tiptoeing my way back into that position, looking for a retest of that 180. So there's a lot on tap today. Obviously, the inauguration going on today, and again, keep politics out of it. I had somebody comment about me even mentioning what happened at the Capitol, which is just ridiculous. All we're talking, I'm not picking a side. I'm just talking about events that influence the stock market. So please, no, I'm not getting political at all here. If you can't even say the word inauguration, I don't know what to tell you, because I have to talk about what's going on in the world and how it affects what we're looking at. So a lot of new earnings coming out today, looking for follow through on Netflix today. General Motors going back into the list, taking a look at a list of semiconductor stocks for follow through. And if you watched our other video this morning, we're looking for follow through on our Etsy swing trade as well. And keep Roku on your list. That stock keeps going higher as well every day, kind of riding that Netflix, again, industry group coattails, right? Have a great day, everybody. If you have any questions about these stock picks, leave a comment below the video and definitely subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. Have a great day.